Let's bring in Kevin Cirilli, Bloomberg's chief Washington correspondent, who joins us from Capitol Hill. That dinner last night certainly producing a lot to talk about today, Kevin, not least this latest statement from Senator Mitch McConnell suggesting that the White House doesn't have legislation, or at least hasn't presented actual legislation that it would be happy with to the Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in the last hour, Vonnie, we've received a statement from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell about all the back and forth happening regarding Democrats and President Trump on DACA and funding for the wall or border security. The Majority Leader says, quote, "We look forward to receiving the Trump administration's legislative proposal as we continue our work on these issues." So it's going to be interesting to see just how the president is able to keep Republicans together on this, because we should also note that already within the last 24 hours, as this has really heated up, he has received some criticism from ultra-conservatives, most notably Representative Steve King, a Republican from Iowa, who has called this amnesty. But as we just heard from President Trump himself, the president is pushing back on that wordage, saying that any deal with the Democrats on DACA would not be called amnesty. So it looks like this White House, led of course by Chief of Staff General John Kelly, is really trying to walk this political tightrope to try to get to some type of deal within the next couple of months.
So, Kevin, from what you've heard on the ground, what would a deal most likely look like?
Well, Sherry-Ann, that's a great question, and it's one that is really going to come to a head in mid-December, because there is talk, and we should note that we should be careful when we say this, but there is talk, and sources that I've spoken with have hinted at this in the Republican Party, that DACA actually could be a part of the deal in December when they have to raise the debt limit and pass a partial government funding bill to avert a government shutdown. That was what was really interesting with last week, when the president was able to garner some of the Democratic support and go with them. He's hoping that that good political will allow him to get some capital to again reach that deal in December 8th. If you're outside of the Beltway, if you're watching this trying to see if there's going to be any political hiccups in mid-December, right now it looks like there could be, but the president is trying to avert that.
All right, Kevin, and I just want to point out that Paul Ryan will be speaking at that very podium that you're looking at in just a few minutes. Let me ask you one more question, Kevin. You know, President Trump said in Florida today that there was going to be no obstruction of the border wall. So even if there is a deal within the next 6 months, there's going to have to be some language about an actual wall in there, right? Some funding, something real to do with the border wall. Will Democrats ever agree to that?
No, Democrats will not agree to the wall as in the symbolic sense and what that has come to represent. Neither will Mexican government officials, and we should very much note in the geopolitical global sense that NAFTA negotiations are very much underway, and the Mexicans have said that they are not willing at all to have any type of wall funding in the symbolic sense as it has become known for. They say, quite frankly, it's a non-starter. But this is where, again, the communication strategy and the shift that we've seen in the maturation of this administration in the last several months really gets interesting, because when you look at polling, especially in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, the government funding for preventing drug cartels from having money go over the having drugs shipped over the U.S.-Mexico border, that is something that there is Democratic support for. So how he's communicating that is going to be interesting, but we're starting to see that, because he's not calling it amnesty. He's saying he wants to work on DACA, but he's also hinting that he's going to need some win. The bottom line, this president has seen in the last couple of weeks that he likes to be on the ground when there's hurricane relief. He likes to be there. That's where he is this afternoon. He also really wants to have that political victory win where he's down there on the border with the hard hat on his head, seeing images of a wall or some type of construction being built.